Hello and welcome. My name is Tracey S. Lawrence, and I am the author of the best-selling book, Dementia Sucks. And I am the founder of Grand Family Planning, LLC. I help adult children to be able to cope with healthcare crises in their families. And today I am here to interview my friend, Kat Verdi of Verdi Consulting, LLC. And the reason we're doing this is we want to educate people about the importance of understanding healthcare in the age of COVID. Tell us about what you do as a professional.
Sure. Thank you so much, Tracy, for having me. I am a caramelization kind of girl. I believe in karma and how organically how we met and the commonality that we had is still blowing my mind. Absolutely. You know, we kind of do the same thing. I'm an advocate for caregivers, aging in place adults, and the LGBT elders of the world.
And that's something that, we've talked about this, about the need to balance concerns about the virus with concerns about people's well-being as humans. When you think of loved ones in long-term care facilities not being able to be in the presence of their loved ones, to me that's one of the most heartbreaking and terrible aspects of this whole thing, particularly when you have people who have who are in cognitive decline, because the part of their brain that survives the longest is the part that processes emotion.
Absolutely.
And so if you can't go up to your loved one and hug them, and one of the things that I've often said to people is that when you're with your loved one, even if you don't think they know you or recognize you, or maybe they won't even remember that you were with them, when you hug them and spend quality time with them, they'll continue to feel good for hours after you leave, even if they can't remember why.
Who did the hugging?
Right. Or that they were even hugged.
Exactly.
Because that connection, that oxytocin, that hormonal release that we get from being around people who care about us stays with us, even if we can't explain why it is that it makes, why we're feeling good from it. So, and to deprive people of that option, to say, no, you can't be with them, you can't be in their presence because you might give them this virus. We got to start like pulling back and looking at the big picture, in my opinion.
1000% agree. I think that we're in a situation with those of our loved ones that are cognitively compromised. It's almost like mother and child bonding at birth. That touch. There's no communication. There's no talking. I mean, yeah, I guess you can say, "Oh, baby," but my point is that child, that child that just comes out of the womb needs that touch. I think it's the same. You kind of looping back to the beginning when we're talking about cognitive issues. I think that's necessary. I think it stays with them. You don't have to put a face to it. Yes. It's just the human touch. Yes. In regards to the facility, going back to my uncle, the psychiatrist, my mother's really having a hard time. She just lost her sister 3 weeks ago to Alzheimer's. She was in Panama with my cousin, her older son.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thank you. And she hasn't seen her brother, who was in a facility in Paramus, Hackensack, since March. It's crazy. It's absolutely, and I think for her it was tough because they had to grieve. Even though she knew she couldn't share that with her brother because she's afraid that he would trigger, would he remember, not remember? I said, Mom, this is, and it's hard. This is trying to explain this to a 79-year-old woman. That's very cultural, was not born in this country. And it's like, you got to bury your body. Well, you can't do that because she's not in this country. And you can't do something with your siblings because the other one has brain cancer. I mean, I feel for her that her world is literally falling apart, and the absence of having time with them, however that is, how much time is left, nobody knows, is taking such a toll. And for our friends in facilities, you got to get yourself together. You got to have someone take a temperature. Obviously, if I have a temperature, sorry, you can't come in. You got to have a mask. You have gloves. Fine. We'll adhere to that. Why can't we do these facilities do what the hospitals are doing?
Yes. And I think that, we have to head towards a place of sanity where we have facilities where, that people say, okay, I am an American. I have constitutional rights, and I want to be able to take responsibility, to take on the risk of seeing my loved ones. And if everybody signs a waiver and says, I'm okay with it and I'm willing to take the risk, then I think we should be able to do this. Right. And there should be a way to segregate the people who want it from the people who don't want it.
Absolutely. But I think what I think is missing is that I don't think, and I say this respectfully, that's going to come from the communities or facilities. I think it has to come from the people,
the families
that make that community or facility.
Yes. People have to speak up.
Have to be heard.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think we as a people, as a society, need to start stepping up and taking control of the situation, because what has been happening is that, as you know, this whole thing started with 15 days to flatten the curve, right? That was what we were told initially. Then it was 30 days, and there's been this incremental removal of rights, and people have been kind of rolling over and saying, oh, okay. Right. We can't just say okay, because if those in power are able to, they will paint with the broadest possible brush to keep a lid on everything. And we have a right, we have a duty as members of our society and as advocates for our loved ones to step up, open our mouths and say, this is not acceptable, because our loved ones are being killed spiritually, emotionally, and physically by policies that are not necessarily grounded in science. And there are ways of managing this. And it's time, in my opinion, for us to start saying something, because it is up to us. It's not going to happen on its own. There isn't going to be, Governor Murphy isn't going to wake up and have an epiphany one day that he's got to take care of these people. He doesn't care. I'm right. Sorry, he doesn't.
He doesn't. And it's so funny because, again, in our circles, the hot topic, what is trending, is the low census. So everybody's trying to figure out, which I think it's an oxymoron, because I'll take a virtual tour of something, but that's the misinformed client or person that's looking for their loved one. I don't care that you have granite. I don't care that you have chandeliers. I want to feel the atmosphere. I want to feel the vibe. I want to see, oh my God, that lady, oh my gosh, she's doing something that my mom loved. I want the best match for my loved one.
Absolutely. And so, I always tell people, you gotta take the smell test. And I know that sounds disgusting, but it's absolutely true. You walk into a place and all you smell is disinfectant, there's a problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't take a tour where I tell my clients, when they tell you to take the tour,
pop in. You want to go and it's unexpected. Absolutely.
Right, exactly. And the people that I do work with and certain communities, they welcome that with open arms because they're
Yes,
the ones that are doing the right thing.
that's right.
That's a whole nother conversation. I think there's too many people doing what we do and just saying I could do it too. And I'm like, no, you got to know your ratio, how many people are cognitively compromised, because you're not going to put somebody that's lucid in a wheelchair with people that are not communicating, that are in the journey of the disease. You know what I mean?
Sure,
And there's
sure.
too many people putting, oh, I know how to do that. I know that. And they don't know the first thing about it. And it's about a contract and getting paid on it. That is not what this is for me. I
Right,
am a true advocate and
right.
working diligently. Also, my heart goes out to the LGBT elders that are not being represented properly. So there's a lot to learn, but the whole landscape moving forward with this whole thing, who knows? But a
Yeah,
doctor's visit is not what it used to be.
yeah. Well, it was always challenging, but now there's another layer.
Oh gosh, yeah,
And as knowledgeable advocates, one of the reasons we're doing this is to make people aware of these issues, it's so important. And because you have the personal experience with your loved ones, and as do I. We have a perspective that a lot of other people don't have, and it's important for them to learn and to start becoming conversant in these issues, and to
right,
start understanding what they are, so that when their time comes, that they will be ready. And at the same time, I would like to be someone who is helping to initiate practices and protocols that will enhance the experience for residents in the future going forward. It's so vitally important. Look, there are things that can be done virtually, no doubt about it, and there are tools that can be implemented that can enrich the lives of people. But until the people who run the facilities are aware of them and are willing to modify and innovate, and accommodate the human need, and this to me is like is the really important thing right now. There were studies done years ago about nursing homes, right? And there's a great book by a doctor named Atul Gawande called Being Mortal,
yes,
and it talks about how so many facilities were created with the idea of keeping people safe, and that safety is not necessarily what people want. People want to feel needed. They want to feel they want to have a reason to get up in the morning. They want to feel like that, like life is worth living. And if it's all about safety and creating these environments with only safety in mind, then you're essentially going to kill these people.
absolutely.
Because you're not accommodating their humanity. You're not accommodating their what makes life worth living. It's not just quantity of life, it's quality of life.
Absolutely.
And if we can't accommodate that, then we're not serving these people, and we're not serving their families. And it's undoubtedly it's a challenge, but I believe that by working together and putting together knowledgeable people like yourself and me and people in this space, we can help families to figure out what they need to do, what they need to say, what they need to insist upon, so that their loved ones get care that they want and deserve, and that they don't lose their connection with their loved ones who are so important in their ability to have quality of life, and to be able to transition with grace and with dignity to the last phase of their lives.
1000%. You know, what comes to mind, Tracey, is that we, in the last 25 years, you know, we've morphed in everything, how we market, how we brand, how we do in any fields, pharmaceuticals, clothing, foods. And we do these big, you know, panels and brainstorming sessions. I don't think I've ever heard anybody tell us when they modeled these communities, these senior living places, did we ever have a forum? Because I would like to be asked. I'm 51 years old. Kat, what do you see yourself? Well, with now this whole thing with dementia, that's probably coming my way, especially with what's happening in my mom's side. Possible, good possibility. I don't want to impose on my children. I want them to know that I'm going to be okay with whatever this journey is. But what I don't want, and think about it, Trace, when I was a kid, you heard it a lot. And we're pretty much contemporaries. Maybe you were a senior when I was a freshman. Okay?
You're being kind, but go ahead.
People died of natural causes.
Sure.
That is no longer what you die of. That's like a handful of people.
No. My parents didn't have to be a caregiver to their parents.
Because they were doing stuff and they died. They just died. They had a heart attack. None of this crazy. I do not want to be a pickle. And a pickle is preserved. So cucumber first and then a pickle. I don't want that. I want quality of life. And when it's time for me to go, I want to go. I do think that even though I am a big progressive thinker and I like technology, medication, and we've progressed, I think that we are prolonging certain situations in certain people. And nobody has asked them, because in my tenure speaking, and I get down and dirty with my elders. I love my elders. I learn from my elders. One of the things that I'm very humbled and my heart smiles is when I visit with families. I know that you're the caregivers, but I want to meet who are we helping here? And every time they're like, Kat, you really, oh my God, my mother enjoyed you. I said, yeah, because I want to learn about her. And in my process, they've learned that. Because I'm just curious cat. I've always been as a kid. So what did you do? Oh my gosh, I've learned a woman worked for NASA in 1958 in one of my facilities in Princeton. I mean, I love learning. I love, and I like to take my families and say, get to know one another again. Yeah, there's a lot going on and mom keeps on falling and this and that and the other and dad has a heart issue. Take them back, because when they tell you the story, we're giving them life. We're giving them a purpose. And if you're curious cat like me, that, oh, wait, can I ask you another question? Like as they're telling me, I show them that, and I'm pretty interested about a lot of things, you know? And, but I don't see that. I don't see us sitting down in a round table saying, so, okay, so Trace, what do you see yourself when you can't walk or you can't be in a safe environment by yourself with your husband? Don't put me in a cookie cutter, these lovely communities. That's just like what? I mean, I don't know. I love my home. I love having, when I want to run away, I'm in the basement or I go to my sunroom or whatever. You're putting me in this little confined space with people I don't know. That's another thing that I think we should start a panel, Tracey. I would
love to. I would love to. I'm totally down with it. I have
start a panel, because wouldn't it make sense if let's say I grew up with you and my mom and your mom weren't best of friends, but they were contemporaries. They saw each other at PTOs and making cupcakes. Wouldn't it make sense if we were more of a community, a society, even though I live down the shore and you live where you live?
At the North Pole.
At the North Pole. I'm at the South Pole. Wouldn't it make better sense? Wouldn't there be a camaraderie? These are vacuums that no one really knows. Yes, eventually you get to know each other. Mm-hmm. But it's about who we're placing in these places. Oh, that's great that, oh yeah, hi, your mom is in room 303, my uncle's. It's not about me and her. It's about them.
Mm-hmm. Well, but here's, okay. Just and this could be another topic, but like I know in the case of my mom, when she first was starting to show signs, I took her to a place to look at up here in West Milford.
Uh-huh.
Lovely, lovely facility. And it was a big community where they had independent living, and then they had assisted, and then they had memory care. And I pull up in the car, and my mother sees all these blue-haired ladies sitting on the porch, and she starts to shake.
Oh my God.
She was freaking out. And I looked over at her and I'm like, okay, Mom, you don't have to do this. It's totally okay. But at that point, in her mind, she was not one of them.
Right.
She did not want to live with a bunch of old ladies. She's 79. She's not an old lady. Okay, that's fine. She wasn't ready.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
By the time I actually put her in an assisted, she was ready for it.
Right.
She had made the transition. She was ready to be in a different setting. She'd been living with me and my husband for a while. She'd had a psychotic break. I had people coming in. I had, we had done all we could in my home to take care of her, but it wasn't going to work anymore. I was terrified she was going to fall down the flight of stairs in my house.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And, I did my due diligence. I went to lots and lots of places, and I found this one place where the food was terrific. They had the kinds of activities that she might actually enjoy. And there was a large population of people who were very lucid that she could potentially have relationships with. And so when I told her that she was going, and I actually brought meals home for her from this place, they prepared, because I knew that food was important to her, right?
Absolutely, but that's a smart community here.
Right. So I bring the meals home, and she's eating it, and she's like, "Oh, this is delicious. Where did you get it?" And I said, "A local kitchen, Mom." Just can't, I didn't tell her. But then when it was time, I said, "Remember that meal that you had a couple of weeks ago, and you thought it was so delicious?" I said, "That's the place you're going to." She's like, "I get it. I'm ready."
Yeah.
And she went, and I was like, "Okay, we're good. Life is wonderful." And, and this is where she's going to stay. And 6 weeks later, she had a UTI. She became psychotic. And by the time she was done with 2 months in a psychiatric hospital and rehab, which she got thrown out of for threatening people with knives. Yeah. And then wound up in a psychiatric hospital for several weeks. She couldn't stay in that place. And I had to find another one. So what I'm trying to say is we can do everything that is humanly possible to find a great fit for our parents where they're at a particular time, but they change. And then their needs change. And then the environment that we so meticulously chose for them turns out to be no longer appropriate.
Yeah.
So caregiving is a very complex and challenging place to be.
Yeah.
And we got to be ready. We have to be ready to embrace change, because
Absolutely.
And by the way, don't I don't feel like because your mom or someone in your family had dementia that it's necessarily in your future.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be.
It doesn't. No. And it's funny because the next generation, our generation, we are, definitely much more in tune with our brain fitness. Yeah, I think that we are blessed that we see things a little bit differently. And
yes. And we're living in a time where there are doctors who are actually finding that there are a lot of ways to address the potential for cognitive decline. And I can turn you on to some resources that you might really enjoy.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love
Yeah.
that. I'm working with the association some research, I'm not going to be a big guinea pig and take anything, that's for sure.
Right.
But there's some other ventricle that I'm working on that is just kind of like you visit, there's a couple of things that they send you, you do activities, and I'm all about that. Anything that you're going to test the big muscle in between my ears, I'm all about. I am not taking anything. No, thank you.
Oh, yeah, because the drugs don't work. And the reason the drugs don't work is because it's not Alzheimer's disease. To cite the most well-known form of dementia, is not a brain disease. It is a systemic breakdown.
And I'd like to follow it up with what we've done to our world, the pollution, what we've induced, the medications, the crap, the lotions that we've put in our bodies for years. I mean, we can go on and on about that. Absolutely. I am a firm believer. And people say, well, maybe dementia was around, 50, 60 years ago. We just didn't know it. I don't even think the hot flashes we get were around this way. I remember my mother getting a little red and emotional. But not the crap that we do, that we're going through now. I'm sitting with my girlfriend and peppermint oil. We're like dousing ourselves like peppermint because we're both on fire. I'm like, sweat's a beat. Sean will be like, you're sweating. I said, I know, and I'm just sitting. I'm having a hot flash.
Yeah. Our guys don't understand that.
No, definitely.
Yeah, but and there's an organization that I'm affiliated with, Sharp Again Naturally. I'll turn you on to them. Yeah.
Yes, love. But I really think that we have a platform. I love our chemistry. You also, every now and again, when I look like this, you know who you look like? Take this as a compliment, sister. Jamie Lee Curtis.
I actually, I've heard that before, and thank you.
Yes.
And I do take it as a compliment, so thank you.
Yes, because she's great. She's a cuckoo bird. But when you kept on, I'm like, I'm with Jamie Lee Curtis right now. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Tracey, this was awesome.
Absolutely. And and we should definitely look into starting a panel. I also, I started a lean-in circle.
Oh.
I don't know if you've, and I haven't actually gotten it off the ground yet. I have not been able to, but perhaps we could get it together. I want to have a lean-in circle for working caregivers. To talk about the issues of having a career, a profession, and taking care of loved ones. And I think we could really knock it out of the park.
I call that the ACCs, my adult children caregivers with careers. ACCs. I'm like, that's a whole nother animal. That's a whole nother animal. That is
so we should definitely talk about.
Yeah, I love this.
Elaborating on that.
Chemistry. I love this chemistry so much. I'd love to learn a little bit more in detail how you manage your client base. But I think we have something here. I'm so excited for Monday, but I think Monday's conversation is a little bit different than, I think it has to start somewhere. And I think that we're tough chicks, passionate about what we do, well-rounded in what we do, educated in what we do, and willing to learn more. It's going to enhance what we already know, for sure. And I think, within both of our circles, we'll have to figure out, and you're very savvy with all this nonsense. I think we're like the new Hoda and Kathy Lee.
That could be. We put this out with affection and a desire to educate and enlighten. And we sincerely hope that you've enjoyed watching this. And if you'd like to get in touch with either of us, Kat, you want to tell people how to get in touch with you?
Sure. My website is www.verdi, VERDI, consultingllc.com. There's a little pop-up. You can put your question or just contact me directly, a little quick note, and I'm pretty good at getting back at people. And for sure, any questions I'd be more than happy to answer, but we are here to empower and to learn from one another.
Absolutely. And of course, if you want to get in touch with me, TraceySLawrence.com. It's easy. And you can just leave me a note on the website. There's a contact section. Um, so thanks so much again for watching and listening. Share with your friends if you think that they might be able to get something out of it. And be well, be healthy, and see you again.
Bye, everyone.